Okay, so let's look at the sample paper for stage 1 city and guilds. Alright, so let's look at number 1. So which of the following lists is in the number order? And number order is just like the regular ascending order, smallest to largest. So that one right there is just going to be 9, 25, 64, 103. So these are the answer right there. So if you see number order, just know that they mean normal ascending order from smallest to largest. Alright. Number 2, which of the following amounts of money is in the order of decreasing value? So decreasing value means that it's from larger to smaller. So it should be decreasing. So looking at this right here, I'm seeing C for the answer, with $20 going down to $1, going down to 50 cents, going down to 10 cents. So C is the answer right there. You know that there are some students who don't know what cents are. Cents are less than $1, Cents are less than $1. Moving on to question 3. A table shows the bronze medals won by 4 countries at the 2016 Olympics. Which of these countries had the lowest number of bronze medals? So the lowest number of bronze medals. So this table is kind of straightforward. So US have 38, Great Britain has 17, China has 26, Russia has 19. So Great Britain had the lowest number, which is 17. So Great Britain, they had 17. That's the lowest there. Alright, going to question 4. So the picture shows some cupcakes. How many cupcakes are there in the picture? So let's count. These are identical. These 2 rows are identical. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 4 is 18. That's C. Moving on. Here is a sequence of numbers. The next number is, so from 1 to 4, that means you're increasing by 3. From 4 to 7, that will be 5, 6, 7. So you're increasing by 3 as well. So when you count to 3, you should get the next answer. So 8, 9, 10. You count to 3, you get the next answer. So 10 should be your option right there. So if you look at the pattern, you're just increasing by 3 to get the next number. So if you start at 1 and you count to 3, so that's 2, 3, 4. You will get your 4. So once you count to 3, afterwards you'll get your next you'll get your next number. So from 4 to 7, that's what? 5, 6, 7, right? See? Count to 3. So from 7 to 10, that's 8, 9, 10. So pretty straightforward. Alright, looking at this right here, we have in this calculation, we have a variable right here. So try this missing number right here. So we have a number missing, but that number should be multiplied by 3 to be equal to 18. What number can you multiply 3 by to get 18? Well, 6 times 3 is 18. So the only option right there is going to be A6, because 6 times 3 is 18. And if you don't know, if that's not your way of doing it, then another way you can look at it, take this number right here and move it to the other side of the equal sign, and the 3 will change. The sign will change to the opposite, but the number remains the same. So the operation changes to the opposite, but the number remains the same. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So if you move the 3, you will end up with the opposite of multiplication is going to be division, and you will have the number remaining the same. So 18 divided by 3, if you want to, you will get your 6 as well. So that's one way of looking at it. Alright, but that's the answer right there. Moving right along. In this calculation, 9 minus a number is equal to 4. That's pretty straightforward. If you take 5 from 9, so if you take 5 from 9, you'll be left with 4. And the same, yeah. So if you take 5 from it, you'll be left with 4. So yeah, you'll be left with 5. Sorry. We will end with 5. Alright. Is there another way of doing it? Yes, there's another way of doing it. This right here, It's a 9, and we can apply the same principle. This is a positive 9. So if I move it over the other side of the equal sign, it's going to change it to negative 9, right? So if you have 4 minus 9, you'll be left with 4 minus 9. That's going to be negative 5. And because there's a negative right here, we want to find out what the number is without it being negative. So if you wanted to, you could just divide both sides by negative, or if you want to, you know that that's still gonna get the 5 that's subtracting. You still have the 5 that's subtracting. So either way you look at it, you can do that in order to solve. So if you want to do the method where you move over the other side, that's fine. But the straightforward method is just if you have 9 minus a number equal to 4, simply if you want to use your fingers, that's fine. But which number can subtract from 9 to give you 4? And that number is just 5. Put up 5. You can put 9 fingers up and just remove the fingers until you have 4 remaining. So if you want to do that, that's fine. Alright, so moving on. So 8, we have 25 cents can be written as. So this is for the persons who don't know cents. So if you have this right here, if you see this right here, you would say that this is $1. So a lot of students, I realize some students know what is $1 and they know dollars, but they don't know cents. Now cents is when you have a number less than 1. So in this case right here, you'll have $0, point. So we want to find 25 cents. So it's gonna look just like this. 2, 5. So this right here is 25 cents because it is less than a dollar. This is no dollar, $0. But we have 25 cents. So this is less than a dollar. Alright? So that's how you would write your cents. So that's gonna be 0.25. And yes, there are students who don't know about cents. I've seen it. Alright, so 9. What is 7,036 in words? So 7,000. So 7,036. So that's gonna be B. Alright, moving on. And notice I didn't say 70,000. 7,000 is just 7,000. So the comma is right there. So 7,036. Alright, moving on. Alright, so a customer asks for half kilograms of cheese. So that's gonna be the same as. So a half kilograms of cheese. So if you have 2 out of 2, that's considered as 1. So the reason why I'm saying this is because since 2 over 2 is would be considered as 1. That's just 1 cheese. But if you want to find half kilograms of cheese, that's gonna be a half of 1. And a half of 1, that's going to be 0. Sorry, that's gonna be 0.5. Why is it 0.5? Because in the place value chart, the highest digit we can have is 9, because if it goes over 9, then we have to put the remainder over the other side of the place value. So 5 plus 5 is gonna be 10, and so if we had 5 plus 5, so if we have 5 plus 5, if we added them, then we'll have 5 plus 5 is 10. We cannot put it right there, so we're gonna have 0. We'll put our point, because our point will remain the same place, because all decimal point will remain the same place, but I will have to carry over that 1 to be added, because we cannot put 10 under 1 decimal place. So 1 plus 0, that's just gonna be 1. So 1.0 is the same thing as just 1. So a half of 1 is 0.5. So 0.5 kilograms is a half kilogram. So half kilogram of cheese is gonna be 0.5 kilograms of cheese. Alright, moving right along. Alright, so 0.75 is the same as. So I did a video on converting decimals into fractions. If you want, you can check that out. So that's gonna be 0.75. So how we convert decimals into fractions? We multiply that number, the decimal number, by a base 10 number. And that base 10 number must have the same amount of zeros as the decimal place. So this number right here has 2 decimal places because there are 2 digits that comes before the decimal point. So I am going to multiply that number now by a base 10 number with 2 zeros. That's going to be my first step. And notice a base 10 number is a number that has 1 and 0. 1 will be the first digit in that number and zeros will come afterwards. So 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, these are base 10 numbers. So when you convert, or when you're converting decimal numbers into fraction, you multiply that decimal number by a base 10 number, and they should have the same amount of zeros as the decimal places. So because this has 2 decimal places, I'm going to multiply that by a base 10 number with 2 decimal places. So that's why I multiply by 100. This is done so we can get a whole number. So multiplying this by 100, I'm gonna get 75. And because I multiplied that number by 100 to get 75, to write it as a fraction now, so this is the whole number. Alright, and to write it as a fraction now, so to write it as a fraction, I would have to put that number, I will have to put the whole number over the base 10 number that I multiplied by, because this will give me, if I have this fraction right here, it will be the same thing as the decimal number. So this decimal number as a fraction is 75 over 100. But sir, the fraction is not in the answer. Yes, it's not in the answer because City and Girls wants all fractions to be in its simplest form. It's also in the video that I did on the channel. So in order to simplify, in order to get it in a more simplified form, we're gonna simplify this fraction by dividing the number at the top and the number at the bottom by the same number. So the same number has to divide the number both at the top and the bottom. Alright, so with that being said, I have 75 and 100. So what I am going to do, I am gonna just divide both the top and bottom by 5. And note, you can simplify more than one time. So by dividing by 5, I am going to have, so 75 divided by 5, that's gonna be equal to 15. So that's gonna give me 15. Over, I have 100 divided by 5. So 100 divided by 5, that's gonna be equal to 20. And if you look at 15 and 20, then you know that I can simplify by dividing by 5 one more time. So I'm gonna divide by 5 again. And if I divide both the top and bottom by the same number 5, I should get this number as an answer. So 5 divided by 15, that's gonna be equal to 3. That's gonna be equal to 3 over 5 divided by 20, that's gonna be equal to 4. Looking at this fraction right here, I do not see any number that can divide both the number at the top and bottom without leaving a remainder. So in other words, B is my answer. Alright, moving right along. So I'm at number 12. Which is the smallest value single bill that can be used to pay for an item costing $39. So I want to pay for an item costing $39, right? What is the smallest value single bill that I can use to pay for that item? That means that out of all the number the money I have right here, what's the smallest amount that I can use to pay for the bill costing $39? So I cannot use the $10 because that's too small. That's too small. So this $10 right here, small. That can't be used. That's small amount of money, baby money. $20, I can't use the $20 either. because the item costs $39, right? I cannot use this $20 right here. It's too small. I have a $50. Can I pay using the $50? Yes, I can pay using the $50. But I see $100 right here. Although I can pay with the $100, it's asked for the what? The smallest value. So the smallest value, note that I can pay for the item costing $39 is going to be the B 50. So $50 note, that's what I'm gonna use. The correct answer right there is going to be B. So let me circle it again. B. Alright, moving right along. I'm at 30. The height of a man is approximately, embarrassing to say, but 6 feet. I am not even 6 feet. I am 6 foot. I am 5'7". So this right here, the height of a man is approximately. I am a man, and I am ashamed. 6 feet. Oh my God. Yeah, it cannot be 6 inches. It cannot be 6 millimeters. It cannot be 6 centimeters. All of these three below, they are too small. So the average height of a man is approximately. The best answer right there. I'm not even gonna say the most appropriate answer. But the best answer right there is 6 feet. Moving right along. Alright, so a man is facing north. So he turns half rotation clockwise. He is now facing, okay. So a full clockwise rotation would be a circle going to this direction right here. So starting right here, going all the way around. So it's gonna be like a clock. So a clock goes from this direction, goes all around, coming back right here. So that's how a clock operates. So in total, it's like a circle. Now, if he starts at north, I'm going to draw my little compass right here. Alright, so I'm gonna draw my compass. Now north is always facing up, and you know we have our west and east, and we have our south right there. Now if he says if a full rotation or a full clockwise rotation would be a full circle, that means if we're looking at a half rotation, you're gonna start right here because you said that he's facing north. And since he's facing north and we said that it's a half rotation, I'm gonna get half of a circle. So I'm gonna go all the way around, starting right there. Sorry, let's go again. So we're gonna start at north and we're gonna go all the way around, and we'll stop right here where we'll get half of a circle. So where I stop right here at south. So now it will be at south, because he did a half rotation, so that would be half a circle. And if you look at this diagram, in the space right here, you should see that it is half of a circle. Alright, moving right along. So what time is shown on the clock? Now this clock right here is approaching 2 o'clock, but it's not yet 2 o'clock. So since it's not yet 2 o'clock but it's approaching 2 o'clock, I am going to look at the minute hand, and I'm going to look at the hour hand. So even though it's approaching 2, it's still not yet at 2. If you look at it closely, it's still not yet at 2. It's still not yet at 2. So that's not 2 o'clock as yet, but it's approaching 2 o'clock. So it is still considered 1. So 1, and the minute hand is on 11, so that's going to be 1:55 because it's approaching 2 o'clock. So it's gonna be C. That's the time right there. Alright, moving right along. So 16. A cook puts a pudding in the oven at 5:45 p.m. The pudding takes 20 minutes to cook. What time should she take the pudding out of the oven? So it starts at 4:45. Now you should know that 60 minutes make 1 hour. Always remember that when dealing with these time questions. 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour. And since 60 minutes is equal to 1 hour, then let's see how the calculation. Let's see what we have to do in order to get from 45 to 60. So looking at that right there, if I have 60 and I minus 45 from that, I am going to get 15 as my answer. If I subtract 45, if I take 45 from 60, so I'm left with, so that means that 15 minutes. So that means that 15 minutes, if I add 15 minutes to that 45 right there, it's going to be 1 hour. So it's going to change it to 1 hour. So 1 hour plus the 5 hours already, that's going to be 6 o'clock. And that's if I add the 15 minutes. That's going to be 6 o'clock already. But guess what? Out of the whole 20 minutes, if I only use the 15 minutes to move from 5:45 to 6 o'clock, how many minutes would I have remaining? Now 20 minus 15, I am left with 5. So after I use the whole 15 minutes to move from 5:45 to 6 o'clock p.m., I would have 5 minutes remaining, because 5 minutes would be remaining. So 5 minutes remaining. So that means that I will have, the time will be what? 6:05 p.m. after the whole 20 minutes. Alright? So after the whole 20 minutes, that would be the time. Alright, so moving right along. Which of the following is the lightest? So we're looking at the lightest right there, and we have a melon. A melon is so heavy sometimes. A tin of peas, again, a tin of peas can be so heavy sometimes. C, an apple can be very light. Or D, an egg. Now out of all these options right there, it is safe to say that an egg is the lightest item, or the lightest thing, or the lightest option right here. So egg is the lightest option for these, because an apple will weigh more than an egg, and a tin of peas definitely will weigh more than an egg, and then a melon will definitely weigh more than an egg. Alright, so 18, we're at 18 now. So a teaspoon is holds approximately, it should be 5 milliliters. So a teaspoon holds approximately 5 milliliters. Alright, moving on. So normal body temperature is approximately, and we're measuring in Fahrenheit. Now if you're measuring in Fahrenheit, then normal body temperature is between 97 degrees Fahrenheit. So 97 degrees Fahrenheit, and it never reaches 100. So 97 degrees Fahrenheit to about 99. So about 99 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's the regular body temperature for human beings. Alright, so that's the regular body temperature. So when measured in Fahrenheit. So that's from 97 degrees Fahrenheit to 99 degrees Fahrenheit. So the answer for normal body temperature is approximately 98. It's never really at, it shouldn't be at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's between these figures. Alright, are these two temperatures. So 98 is the correct answer right there. Alright, moving on to question 20. So what is the boiling point of water? What is the boiling point of water in degrees Fahrenheit? So the boiling point of water is going to be 212 Fahrenheit. And note, whenever we're looking at Fahrenheit, you know that we normally have a bigger value compared to Celsius. So that's something that you can note. They normally have a bigger value compared to Celsius. So when you saw the 100 degrees Fahrenheit right there, that's for Celsius, and we could not use these smaller values because Fahrenheit normally has a bigger value compared to Celsius. So just something that you can look at. Alright, so moving right along. Going down. So 21. Which of the following is the longest? So we have different units of measurement right there. So we have 5 centimeters, 5 kilometers, 5 meters, and 5 millimeters. Well, the answer for this is very obvious. So if the largest or the longest is going to be kilometers, because kilometers, that's the larger unit right there of measurement. Alright, so from 21 we're going to 22 now. So we're looking at a pictogram, and that pictogram is showing. Alright, so that pictogram is shows the result of customers satisfaction survey. So we have the satisfaction rating right there. So very satisfied, satisfied, disappointed, very disappointed. Each smiley face represents 10 customers. So each smiley face represents 10 customers. So that's the important part right there. That's the key right there. So this right here, this is the key. Because the key kind of tells us all the information, or that's the important point, so we can read. The key helps us to read the chart. So how many customers said they were very disappointed? So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 smiley faces. So because each smiley face represents 10 customers, that's gonna be 10 times 4. Let's write it right there. So that's gonna be 10 times 4. And 10 times 4, that's going to be equal to 40. So 4 faces times 10, so that's going to be 40. So 40 is the answer right there. Alright, moving on to question 23. So a student will use this symbol in her pictogram. So this looks like a sun. I'm going to call it a sun. So a sun represents 2 hours of sunshine. So how many of these symbols should she use to represent 10 hours of sunshine? So if one of these represents 2 hours and she needs 10 hours, then all she'll have to do is just to divide the number of hours by the number of symbols that she should use. So because each symbol represents 2 hours, she's just gonna divide that 10 by 2. And 10 divided by 2 is gonna be equal to 5. So that means that they're gonna be 5 faces. Not 5 faces, but 5 sunshines. So it's gonna be 5. So 23 is 5. Alright, moving right along. So we're at question 24. The table shows information about the content of 2 different burgers. So the content of 2 different burgers. So the content: fat, carbohydrate, fiber, protein, and salt. So let's look at this information right there. How many grams of carbohydrate are in the beef burger? So you want to look right here. It says carbohydrate, and then look directly right here. You have the beef burger. So that's going to be 32. So the amount of grams, that's going to be 32 grams for the beef burger. Alright, moving right along. We're at question 25. So moving on to a different diagram. So the bar chart shows the number of cars serviced each day by one mechanic. So number of cars serviced. Alright, so let's look at that now. How many more cars did she service on Wednesday than on Monday? So how many more did she service on Wednesday compared to Monday? So let's look at Monday. So on Monday she serviced 4 cars. So it started at 4. And on Wednesday she serviced 7. So right across right there, that's gonna be 7. So Wednesday she serviced 7. So how many more did she serve? So you can just subtract right there. So 4 from 7, that's gonna be 5, 6, 7. So that's 3. Alright, so that means that from Monday compared to Wednesday, that's 3 additional cars. So she got 3 additional cars from Monday compared to Wednesday. So looking back at this, how many more cars did she service on Wednesday compared to Monday? That's gonna be 3. Alright, moving right along. So this graph is not complete. Why is it not complete? So what is missing? Now looking at this graph right here, I see weight, I see a title right there, I see the label right here for the Y the scale for the y-axis. See the label for the scale for the x-axis. But I don't know what this graph is about, so the title is missing. So normally you should have a title right above. I'm not seeing this right there, so the title is missing. So if you don't see a title, you know the title is missing. It tells you what the graph is about. So I'm not seeing that. So a title above the chart, that's gonna be A. That was missing. Alright, so question 27. A bank customer pays $100 cash into his account on his bank statement. Which this will show as, so when you have a bank statement, right? When you pay money out of the account, that's gonna be debit. So when money enters your account, that's gonna be credit. Alright, so on your bank statement, alright, let me write it right there. So when you have a bank statement, right? So for your bank statement, cash, when cash or money, when money enters your account, that's debit. Alright, so that's debit. And when money enters your account, that's credit. Can I bold it? I think I should bold it. So that's credit. Can I not bold it? It seems I can't bold it, but that's credit. What I can do, I can change the color so you can see it a little bit better and increase the size. Nope, that's the size for everything. So can I have this word alone in a different color? No. No. Okay, fine. So when money enters your account, that's credit, right? And when money leaves your account, that's debit. Alright, so when you have your bank statement, when money enters your account, that's credit. When money leaves your account, that's considered debit. So for persons, when they use your debit card, they use a debit card because, you know, whenever you pay for something, money leaves your account. So that's gonna be debit on your bank statement. But once money enters your account, that's credit. Alright, so remember that. Alright, so number 8, so question 28, that's gonna be which one of these is a ruler not used for? Not used for. Alright, so measure the width of a square, yes. Measure the width of a circle, fine. Draw a rectangle, yeah, it can be used for that. Draw around a circle. No, that is not something that I would encourage you to do. I would not encourage someone to use a ruler to draw around a circle. Leave that for another tool, not the ruler. Alright, so question 29. What is the perimeter of this rectangular yard? Now, perimeter is the distance around. So perimeter is the distance around a shape. So since perimeter is the distance around a shape, that's gonna be 3 meters right here and 7 meters right here, and then you add everything. So 7 plus 7 is 14, and 3 plus 3, that's gonna be equal to 6. Add that together, you get 6 plus 4, or 6 plus 14, I know that's 20. Yeah, because 6 plus 4, that's gonna be 10, and the 1 plus the 1, that's gonna be equal to 20, 2, so that's 20. Alright, so 20 meters, and that's your answer. Moving right along. So which of these shape tessellate? Alright, so tessellate is like tiling. So let's write it. So whenever you see the word tessellate, whenever you see the word tessellate, think about tiling. So it refers to what shape can cover an area without leaving space or gap. Simply think about tiling a house. So simply think about tiling. So what shape could cover the area or the plane or the ground, you know, without leaving any unnecessary gap or space. So looking at these four shapes right here, I would not consider this shape. Imagine buying a tile that looks like this right here. The tile would have a warm time. You're gonna have gaps. Alright? Imagine tiling your house or tiling the ground with circular tiles. Oh my god. You're definitely gonna have, gaps, because think about it like this. This is one circle. So this is one circle. And then another circle right here. And then another circle right there. It's just gonna be a lot of gaps, right? When tiling using the circle, and then oh my god. Look, this is not gonna work. Tiling with circle, no. Alright, so we can't use that one. We can't use the circle. Alright, what about a rectangle? Yeah, we can use a rectangle. Rectangle is a common shape for tiles. Common shape. You have this, you just line up all the tiles, the rectangular tiles, and you'll have, so if you realize there's no space will be left with the rectangular tiles, no additional space like that. What about triangles? Triangles can be used also. If you have a triangle right here, just put another triangle right there. That's a triangle as well. So you have a triangle, and then you have a triangle, right here. Right here, you can have you can tile with a triangle. You can tile with a triangle. You can tile with a triangle without leaving an unnecessary amount of space. You can do that if you want to. And this is not even drawn to scale, so this is not even drawn properly. So this will just show you that we can with a triangle. We can with a triangle. Alright, so the only answer is triangle and the rectangle. So that's gonna be A and C only. So whenever you see this word right here, tessellate. So tessellate just refers to what shape can cover an area without leaving space or gap. So just simply think about tiling. So if you think about tiling, think about what shape could cover that area without, leaving unnecessary space or gap. Alright, so 31. What is the area of this rectangle? So the area of a rectangle is length times width. So that's gonna be 8 times 5. 5 times 8, that's gonna be equal to 40. So 40 centimeters squared. So that's gonna be your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So that's gonna be your area. So that's 40 centimeters squared. Also, another trick to it as well, whenever you are asked to find the area and you see squares inside, if you count the squares inside, you should get the area as well. So if you want to, and you don't remember this formula, you don't remember to multiply, if you want to find the area of a rectangle and the squares are inside, you should be able to count the squares inside and get the answer as well. So that's if you want to, if you want to. Alright, moving on. So we're at question 34. So a rectangle measures 3 centimeters by 2 centimeters. What is the area? so that's 3. So length times width, so that's the length multiplied by 2 centimeters gonna be the width. So 3 times 2, that's gonna be equal to 6. So we have 6 centimeters squared, so that's gonna be B right there. And moving on to question 33. So 33, what's the area of a square room, of sides 5 centimeters? So side times side. So side times side, that's how we find the area of a square. And remember that a square has all equal sides. So side times side. Alright, so because of that, that's going to be equal to 5 times 5. So 5 times 5. And 5 times 5, that's going to be equal to 25. So that means that the area of a square room is going to be 25 meters squared. Alright, so moving right along. So question 34. Which of the following nets would have a box with a lid? So a lid is the cover. So if I talk about the lid is the cover. The cover. So that means that if I form this three-dimensional shape, which one of these three-dimensional shape from the net, once I form it, which one would have a cover for the lid? Now looking at this shape right here, I could fold all the sides and I realize that I would not have a cover. Because this will go up, that's one side, this will go up one side, this will go up one side, but which side is gonna be, on the top to cover it? Looking at this side right here, D, if I had a side right here, then I could have a cover. But that side is missing, that side is not there. So I will have a opening for this shape. Same thing for this shape right there. If I was to close all parts of this shape right here, I would have an opening unless I had a part right there that looks like this. So I could just close it off as a lid, or I could have it to close off. So because I do not have this right now, that leaves me with only one option. And let's look at that one and only option. So if I close these two parts right here, I would have these two sides blocked off. Then I could close these two and I have the two blocked off as well. And this side right here would be the lid at the top, where I can easily open or close. So therefore, my answer is gonna be A. It is the only one that has a net that I will get a cover, for the top, or I would be able to close up all parts of the three-dimensional shape. So that's the answer. Let's look at question 35. What is the volume of this cuboid? So the cuboid right here is gonna be your length times your width times your height. Alright, so that means that I'm gonna have my length for the rectangle right here, that's gonna be 6. Let's write it better. So that's gonna be 6 times the width of the rectangle is gonna be 2, and then our height is going to be 3. And if you realize right here, if you count it, how do we know that the height is 3 for real? Just count it, no man. So if you count it, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3. So that's 3. So that's gonna be our height. So let's work everything out now. So 6 times 2, that's gonna be 12. And 12 times 3 is gonna be equal to 36. So 36 centimeters cubed. That's gonna be your answer for that one right there. Moving right along. Alright, so question 36. This is the top view of a box filled with 2 layers of 1-inch cubes. Alright, so yeah. So we have 2 layers of this right there. 2 layers. So that means because it is a top view, that means that the top view means that you're looking at the three-dimensional shape from the top. Right? But there are 2 layers. So because there are 2 layers, the height is gonna be equal to 2. So that height right there, remember, so same thing I talk about the cube. So cuboid. So this shape right here is a cuboid, so it's gonna be length times width times the height. So the length is going to be the longer side. So the longer side is gonna be your length. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your length is going to be 6. Multiplied by the shorter side is going to be your width. So the shorter side is gonna be like this right here. So that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means that the shorter side, the width is gonna be 4, and your height now is going to be the 2 layers, because 2 layers means that from top to bottom, that's gonna be 2. So that's gonna be 2. All right, there are 2 layers. 2 layers mean that this is gonna be your height. It's gonna be your height. All right, so all we have to do is multiply everything. So 6 times 4, that's gonna be 24 times 2. 24 times 2, that's gonna be equal to 48. So 48 cubic inches. So these gonna be your answer for 36. Moving right along. So we have question 37. This shape has 4 lines drawn through it. Which of these lines is a line of symmetry? So line of symmetry separates. Let me write it right there. So line of symmetry separates. So separates shapes into 2 equal parts, or simply just simply 2 halves. So line of symmetry separates shapes into 2 equal parts, or 2 equal arms, or 2 halves. So I should have wrote that 2 halves. 2 halves. Alright, so that means that both sides are supposed to be identical. So line 2, if I look at line 2, this line right here going down, this part will be bigger than this part. So no, I cannot use that one. Cannot be line 2. So that is out of it. Line 2, you're gone. Line 1. If I use line 1 right here going down, this side right here will be 2 larger than this side. So line 1, you're out. You're not gonna make it for this one. Line 4. Line 4 is the same. Line 4, if I use line 4, because this is line 4, you know, it goes right up right there. I can't use line 4 because this entire piece right here will be larger than below. Will be larger than the one below. So I cannot use line 4. So line 4 is out. It just leaves line 3, and line 3 is the line that cuts right through here. If I cut right through here perfectly, then I could see that both sides, both parts will be equal. So that means that, look at that line right there. So line 3, that's where you know you have your line of symmetry. So line 3, that's the line of symmetry. Alright, that's the line of symmetry. Line 3. Okay, so a man throws 3 darts. He scores 60 with his first throw, 57 with his second throw, and 9 with his third throw. How many did he score in total with the 3 throws? So all you'll be doing is adding. So 60. So that's gonna be 60 plus 57 And look what I did right there, because in the exam you don't want to make a lot of mistakes. So I'm breaking this down. Yes, I'm gonna add all three scores, but I'm gonna break it down into two parts so it makes it easier. So 60 plus 57, so 0 plus 7, that's 7, and 5 plus 6, that's 11, so I have 111, and I'll just finish it off by adding in that 111, sorry, 117 plus 9. So I'll just finish it off with that. So 117 plus 9. So I have 9 plus 7, that's going to be 16. And I carry over the 1 and add it. So 1 plus 1, that's going to be 2. And I have 1 remaining. So that's going to be 126. Alright, moving right along. So I'm on question 39 right now. And if you look at it, we're at adding still, so that's gonna be what's the total of these two numbers. So I'm gonna quickly add them. So we have 3,602 plus 518. If you realize, I ensured that I have enough space to separate the digits into the right place value. So I have my hundreds under my hundreds column, tens under the tens column, and the ones under the correct column. You can see them clearly, so I have enough space. I do this because it makes adding more organized, so you make less mistake. So let's add now. So 8 plus 2, that's gonna be 10. Carry the 1 and you're gonna add the 1. So that's gonna be 1 plus 1. So 1 plus 1, that's gonna be 2. 5 plus 6, that's gonna be, sorry, 5 plus 6, yeah, that's gonna be 11. Carry the 1 and you add that to the 3. So 1 plus 3, that's gonna be equal to 4. With the correct spacing, I can see that I have my number 4,120. So C is the answer for question 39. 40. A customer hands a cashier $100 to pay a bill of $47. How much change should the customer receive? So we're just gonna subtract. So $100, and let me have enough space between the digits. So that's gonna be $100 minus 47. So that's gonna be, can you take 7 from 0? No. So we're gonna borrow. Can you take it from 0? No. So we're gonna go to the 1. So take 1 from the 1. We're gonna move it over here. That's 10. Borrow from the 10 right there. So we're gonna have that 10 over this side. And take 1 from 10. We have 9. Alright. So 7 from 10. You'll be left with 3. 4 from 9, you'll be left with 5. So that's gonna be your change. After subtracting 47 from 100, we're left with $53. Moving on to question 41. Find the difference between 8,072 and 398. And as I said before, ensure that you have the space between the digits. The more space, the better. The more space, the better. And I am saying this because persons will be doing their examination, and I do not want them to make any mistakes when they're doing their exams. So you have to be careful. Alright, so after subtracting and every digit is under the correct place or under the correct column, we can easily subtract. So 8 from 2 we can, so we take 1 from the 7, carry over, that's gonna be 12. So 8 from 12, that's gonna be 4. We have 6 remaining right here because we took 1 from the 7. So 9 from 6 we can't. So we're going to take 1 from the 8. We'll be left with 7. We take 1 from the 8. We're going to put it right here. And we're going to take from the 10. Sorry, we're going to take from the 10. We'll be left with 9. And we'll carry that 1 that we took from the 10 over to the 6. So now we have 16. And 9 from 16. You're gonna be left with 7. Alright, so 9 minus 6, 16 minus 9, you take 9 from 16, you'll be left with 7. All right, and moving on to this one, this side right here, this column right here, we have 9. So 3, so 9 minus 3. So if you take 3 from 9, you'll be left with 6. And we have a 7 right here because we took from the 8, so we have a 7 remaining. So in all, we have 7,674. So that's gonna be A, and that's the answer for 41. All right, moving right along to 42. Scrolling down. There are 60 minutes in an hour. How many minutes are in 4 hours? So if 60 minutes are in 1 hour, an hour means 1 hour. So an hour means 1 hour. So 60 minutes in 1 hour. How many are in 4? Multiply. So that's going to be 60 times 4. So it's just multiply the number of hours by 60 minutes, since 60 minutes equals to 1 hour. If you want to find the value for 4, or how much it will be for 4, just multiply by 4. So 4 times 0 is 0. And 4 times 12, that's going to be 24. Note, if you want to, you could also add 60 4 times. So 60 plus 60. 60 plus 60 is equal to 120. And we add the other 260, so 60 again. Plus 60. Equal to 120. And we just add them. We just add these two totals. So 120 plus 120, that's going to be equal to 240. So these are 2 ways you can solve your answer. If you want to do it this way, where you just multiply it by 4 to get the 240, that's fine. If you want to add the 60 minutes 4 times, you can as well. Alright, so that's going to be, how many minutes are in 4 hours? That's going to be 240. So that's C for 42. Moving on to question 43. So calculate 295 times 8. So let's do that one right there. So that's gonna be so 295 times your 8. Alright, so let's multiply. So 8 times 5, that's gonna be equal to 40. Alright, and 4 times 9, so 4 times 9, that's gonna be equal to 72. Yeah, so 72 plus 4 now, that's gonna be equal. And if you notice right here, what I did, I ensured that before I add anything, I multiplied first. So I multiplied the 8 times the 9 to get the 72, and afterwards I will add the 4 to that. So 72 plus 4, that's gonna be 76. So I put the 6 down and I carry over the 7. So note, before you add anything, multiply. So 8 times the 9, 72, then you plus the 4 to get the 76. Alright, so you just have to be careful. I don't want anybody to add before they multiply. That's all I'm saying. Alright, so after we carry over that 7 to be added, we're going to do the same thing. So 8 times 2 is going to be 16. So 16 plus 7, that's going to be equal to 23. That's going to be equal to 23. So that's going to be your answer. So that's what? 2,360. 2,360. And that's going to be your answer. That's C. The 2,360. So try to ensure that you multiply before you add. So you don't make any mistakes. Alright, moving on to question 44. Alright, so our restaurant has a booking for 56 people. There are 8 chairs around each table. How many tables does the restaurant need for 56 people? So once we're looking at sharing, so sharing means dividing. Alright, so sharing means to divide. So once you realize that we're gonna share, group, or I'm gonna put group as well. So grouping also means to divide. Alright, so once I hear sharing our grouping, in this case right here, I think grouping will be best right here because we have 56 people coming in and we want to group them to sit at each table. So there are 8 chairs. So I want to group them or share them, or group them sitting at the 8 chairs each, or each table. So I want to group them to sit at each table, and each table has 8 chairs. That means that 8 persons should be around each table. So how we're gonna do that? We're just gonna divide. So 56 divided by 8. 56 divided by 8. And that's what we're gonna do. So 56 divided by 8, that's gonna be equal to 7. Because 7 times 8, that's gonna be equal to 56. Alright, so that's gonna be 7. So practice your timetable. Yeah, practice a timetable. If you want to remember that multiplication is repeated addition. So if you wanted to, and you know what 8 times 5 is, right? So 8 times 5 is equal to 40. So what you could do is that you could keep adding 8 to that in order to get your answer. So if you added 8 to this, you would have 48, which would be which would be 8 times 6. And what you can do again is just to add 8 again to see if it reaches 56 or a number close to it or near. In this case right here, we know that it should be 40. You should get the same 56. So 8 plus 8, that's gonna be 2, 8, 16. Carry the 1 and add it, so 1 plus 4, that's 56. So, and if you added another 8, that would have been your 7 times your 8. So just remember that multiplication is repeated addition. So if you wanted to, you could look at it 2 different ways. If you don't know your 8 times table, if somehow you're nervous and you just forgot, things happen. So just remember that multiplication is repeated addition. Alright, moving on. So 45, what is 148 divided by 4? So we're on division, it seems. So let's quickly do that one. 148. Alright, so let's look at 14. So 3 times, so 3 times 4, that's 12. We can't do 4, because 4 times 4 is 16, that's too big. So these are the steps, by the way. So steps for division. So steps for division. So I have a video on division if you wanted to check that out. That's fine. So steps for division. So first step is to divide. Then you multiply. And then you subtract. And then you bring down. And your last step is always to repeat the process until you get 0 after subtraction. Alright, so 5 steps. So first step, the video got cut off.
before I finish 44, because I did the entire paper, and I don't even know what happened there. So I'm gonna do over, this question right here, but I'm gonna go over the steps for division. So that's divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, and you repeat the process until you get 0 after subtraction. So if you get 0 after subtraction, that's where the process ends, right? But these are steps. For number 1, bring down, divide. Number 2, multiply. 3, subtract. 4, bring down. And 5 is to repeat the process. All right. So I'm gonna divide my 148 by 4, and I'm gonna quickly do that. I don't know why it didn't record that part, but we're not gonna complain. We're just gonna do what we need to do. All right. So let's go through it. So 4 over 14, 148, right? So that's gonna be how many times 4 can go into 14. That's gonna be 3, because after you divide and multiply, so 3 times 4 is gonna be 12. Subtract afterwards, that's this third step, and you will have a remainder of 2. After you subtract, you're gonna bring down. So we bring down that 8 right there, and now we have 48. So how many times 4 can go into 48? That's gonna be 7 times. Because after we bring down, we repeat the steps. You repeat the process. So we're gonna divide. So 4 into from 28 goes 7 times. And 7 times, because after division you multiply, so 7 times 4, that's gonna be 28. And after subtraction, we have 0. We get 0. And if we get 0, the process ends. So that's 37. So that's going to be an answer for 45. I think it would be unfair for me to go through all these things over again. So I'm just going to tell you what I did to get down the answer. So for this one right here, alright, let me just quickly do it again. So for this one right here, we have 627 divided by 3. So let me just quickly do it. So 627 divided by 3. So that's gonna be how many times 3 can go into 6. Let's go up to the steps so you can look at it clearly. So first step is to divide. So 6 into 3 into 6 goes 2 times. Then you multiply 2 times 3. That's gonna be equal to 6. Afterwards, you subtract. You'll have 0, and after you subtract, you will have bring down. So that will be 2. So after bringing down, you have 2. After you bring down, you repeat the steps. So you're gonna go all the way back to divide. So 3 into 2, you can't. So it's gonna be 0. Then you're gonna multiply. So 0 times 3, that's gonna be 0. After you multiply, you subtract. So that's gonna be 0 minus 2, that's gonna be 2. And after you subtract, you're going to bring down that 7. So that's 27. And 3 into 27 goes 9. And let's just clear this off. I may just have to do that part over. Things that I'm doing for you guys. Alright, so after you divide how many times 3 can go into 27, you just multiply because it's the second step. So 9 times 3, that's going to be 27 again. And after you multiply, you subtract. Please note the steps. So after you subtract, you'll get 0 for your answer. That means that division stops. So division stops after you subtract and get 0 for your answer. So yeah, that answer is going to be 209. That's how we got the answer right there. Alright, so the sum of 10.3 and 2.6 is, so I'm going to do it over as well. So that's going to be 10. Sorry. That's going to be 10.3
3. And some may be asking, why do I space it out like that? I space it out like that to ensure that I make less mistakes when I'm adding or subtracting. It's very good for you to space out your digits when you're working without a calculator so you make less mistakes. So 10.3 plus, whenever you see sum, it means to add. Whenever you see sum, it means to add. So 2.6. So that's gonna be 9.12. And you see how, do you see the way my digits line up properly, neatly, organized? So try it like that. So that's gonna be 12.9. Alright, looking at this right here, we have question 49. So that's gonna be a joiner. It needs 2 lengths of wood. So one piece is 1.3 meters long and the other piece is 0.5 meters long. So just like before, we put everything in order. So that's 1.3 and you plus your 0.5. Ensure everything lines up neatly. So 3 plus 5, that's gonna be 8. 1 plus 0, that's 1. So that's gonna be your answer right there, 1.8, and that's the correct answer for question 48. So 1.8 meters. Alright, subtracting. Ensure that, just like before, let me erase this because subtracting is a bit different. And for those wondering, the reason why the working note is on these set of questions is because I did the questions before. It was recorded before, but I don't know why. So this part until 56, you know, is gone. So I don't know what's gonna. I'm just doing it over. All right. So 6 grams minus 2.3 grams is. So what I did was just to ensure that I wrote down the decimal number 2.3 and I ensured that there were enough space, right? So I'm just gonna have my 6 now, which is my whole number, point. So the reason why I put a point when there was no point for the 6 kilograms is because this is a decimal number. I want to ensure that for this decimal number right here, it matches my whole number. So I'm gonna write my whole number as a decimal number. So 6 point, because nothing is there, I put a 0. I ensure that there is enough space. I ensure that there's enough space between my digits so I can subtract properly. So 3 from 0 you can't. So I'm gonna take 1 right there. That's gonna be 5. You carry over the 1, and that's gonna be 10 now. So 3 from 10, that's gonna be 7 point. 2 from 5, that's gonna be 3. So 3.7. And so that's gonna be C for 48. An electrician had 12.5 meters of cable. She uses 2.7 meters. How many is left? Oh, sorry. How much cable is left? So whenever you see how many is left, I would have wrote that myself. If you ask how many is left, it means that you're supposed to subtract, right? And just like before, we're just gonna apply the same concept. We're just gonna apply the same concept. Alright, so let's subtract this up quickly. So subtract, and we ensure that the numbers align properly. We ensure that it is lined up properly. So alright, so I'm gonna put my point right below and I'm gonna subtract. So 7 into 5 you can't, so I'm gonna take 2 from 1 from the 2 and bring it right here. So that's gonna be 15. And remember to add the 1 remaining, because if you take 1 from the 2, you're gonna have 1 remaining. And you carry over that 1 right there, that's gonna be 15. So 7 from 15, that's gonna be 8. Yeah, and we have 1 remaining right there, so 2 from 11. So 2 minus 11, that's gonna be equal to that's gonna be equal to 9. So 9.8 would be your answer. So that's gonna be B. So 2 from 11, 9. So 9.8, that's the answer. Alright, moving right along. And we have multiplying. So I'm just gonna quickly go through this again. Alright, so let's quickly go through this again. So whenever you're multiplying, let's first arrange all digits in their correct place. I'll space out these digits properly as well. Multiply by 7. So 7 times 5, that's going to be 35. Seven times 2 is going to be equal to 14. And you add the 3 to that 14. So 7 times 2 is 14 plus 3. That's going to be equal to 17. Carry over that 1 to be added. Alright, 7 times 6, that's gonna be equal to 42. 42 plus 1, that's gonna be equal to 43. And ensure that, because you want to ensure that your answer has the same amount of decimal places as the decimal number you're multiplying by. So you want to ensure that it also has 2 decimal places for your answers. So 7 times 6 is gonna be 42 plus 1, that's 43. And you carry over that 4, and you add that 4 to the 1. So 4 plus 1, that's gonna be equal, sorry, so 7 times 1, so remember to multiply before you add. So 7 times 1 is 7 plus 4, that's gonna be equal to 11. So always remember, even though we carry over these numbers to be added, ensure you multiply and then you add. So multiply and add afterwards. Alright, so that's what we did now to get our 113.75. Alright, then we have question 52. A bottle holds 0.5 liters of water. How many liters of water are there in 100 bottles? So all we'll be doing right there is just to multiply. So you have a 100 multiplied by 0.5. And the word right there, what tells us that we're supposed to multiply is the word right here, of. So the word of right here, that's what really told us that we're supposed to multiply. So the word of. When I see of, I know that I'm gonna multiply. So what's that percent of? I know that I'm gonna multiply. So look out for that word. Look out for that word. Alright. So 0.5 times 100. I know that I can multiply 5. Whenever I multiply a whole number by a decimal number, we should have the same decimal place. So if this number has 1 decimal place, means that 1 digit comes before decimal number. What I'm gonna do is just, I can multiply the 5 times 100. So 5 times 100, that's gonna be equal to 500. And because it's 0.5 instead, I'm gonna give it the 1 decimal place. So that's gonna be 50. So So 50.0. So 50.0. So that's gonna be 50 liters. So that's kind of a shortcut. If you want, if you want to do it like that. So multiply 5 times 100. That's 500. But because 0.5 have a number with one decimal place, you change the 500 into one decimal place. So you move decimal point, so it's gonna be 50.0. Alright. 56. Sorry, 53. So 6 packs of plantain chips in the US cost $12.90. $12.90. How much will one pack of chips cost? So this is normally considered as a unitary method. And the unitary method is used to find the cost for one. It is normally done by dividing. So therefore, if you know how many packs, or if it says that 6 packs cost $12.90 right here, in order to find the cost for one, all you'll be doing is just to divide. So that's why I wrote it right here, where the unitary method is normally used to find the cost for one, and it's normally done by dividing, right? So all you'll be doing is just to divide the 12.90 by 6, and if you divide the $12.90 by 6, you'll get $2.15. So that would be B for that answer right there. Question 54 now. Calculate 55.8 divided by 9. So let's just, can I quickly, yeah, let me just quickly run through this. So we're gonna do this together. Alright, so because I love you guys, and I'm gonna do it over again. So that's gonna be, this is the same color as before. So that's gonna be 55.8 divided by 9. Alright, so 6. So first step is to divide. So 6 into 55 goes 9 into 55 goes 6 times, because 6 times 59, 55 is 54. Alright, so 9 into 55 goes 6 times, because 6 times 50, 6 times 9 is gonna be equal to 54. Afterwards, we subtract. If we subtract that, we will get 1. And after subtract, we always bring down. So we bring down the 8. So now we have 18. But remember, if we bring down a number that comes after your decimal point, if you bring down a number that comes after decimal point, you ensure that you put decimal point right where your answer is. So if you bring down a number after decimal point, ensure to put the decimal point right where your answer is. So don't bring down a number that comes after decimal point and don't put that decimal point where your answer will be. Alright, so now that we have 18, and we bring down, after bring down, repeat the steps. So that's gonna be 18. So 9 divided by 18, that's gonna be 2. And 2 times 9, that's gonna be 18. Subtract that, you'll be left with 0. So 6.2, that's the answer right here. Alright. Oh, I didn't do that one. I can't believe it. I'm gonna have to do this one over again. So a student buys 2 bottles of water. So one contains 3 over 4 liters, or 3.25 liters, and one contains a half liter. So first thing first, let me just erase this quickly. So if we're gonna add these 2 fractions together, the first thing that we have to do is to know that never add denominators. Do not add the numbers at the bottom. I see students do it. Do not do it. When we add fractions, we only add the numerators. Also, we only add numerators when the denominators are the same. These two fractions
do not have the same denominators. So do not add the fractions until we change the two fractions where they have the same denominators. Now if you look at the writing that I did over there in green, it tells you what you're supposed to do in order to change the two fractions into fractions with the same denominators. Now, if you want to have fractions with the same denominators, we have to find the lowest common denominator. That's the LCD, right? To find the lowest common denominator, all we have to do is to find the lowest common multiple. So the lowest common denominator is the same thing as the lowest common multiple between two numbers. Between the two numbers, or the two denominators in this case. So the two denominators are 4 and 2. So if you have 4 times 1, that is equal to 4. 2 times 1 is 2, but 2 times 2 is 4. So the lowest common multiple is 4. Because multiples are the result of multiplying whatever number given by any number. So it's just like your times table. It's just like a timetable, you know. So that means if you have two numbers as your denominators, that means you'll be looking at, okay, what are the results when you look at these numbers in the timetable? So if it's 4, what are all the answers in the 4 times table? If it's 2, what are all the answers from the 2 times table? The lowest number or the first number that is common between the answers, that is going to be your lowest common multiple, or your lowest common denominator. So in this case right here, we have 4 and 2. So if we multiply on the 4 times table, the first number that we have right there, 4 times 1, that's 4. If we look at the 2 times table, the first number that we see common between the 4 times table and the 2 times table is 4. Because guess what? Even though 2 times 1 is 2, which is not common between the 4 times table for answer, 2 times 2 is 4. So that is our first number that we have in common. So this is how we find our common denominators, our common multiples. Alright, so now that we know what our lowest common multiple is, now that we know what our lowest common denominator is, it's 4. We say, what number did we multiply 4 by in order to get 4? And that number is gonna be 1. This is the important part as well. Anything you multiply, any number you multiply at the bottom, you have to multiply the number at the top by the same number. So if you multiply the bottom by 1, you have to multiply the top by 1 as well. Alright, so that's gonna be 3 times 1, that's gonna be 3, plus, what did you multiply 2 by now to get 4? That's gonna be 2. Anything you multiply at the bottom, you have to multiply the top by the same number. So that's gonna be 1 times 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. Now that we have the same denominator, and now that we have our fraction written with the same denominator, now we can add our numerators. So 3 plus 2, that's going to be equal to 5. So 5 over 4. That's going to be what our two fractions are equal to. But in order to ensure that we have it in the correct answer, we're going to convert that improper fraction. And we normally convert our improper fraction into mixed fractions in angles. So in order to convert the mixed fractions, all we have to do is just to divide. So that's what we have to do, divide. So we're going to divide our 5 over 4. So we're going to divide our 5 by 4. So our 5, we're going to divide it by 4. So 4 into 5 goes 1 time, and 1 times 4 is going to be equal to 4. After that you subtract, you'll get 1. So the remainder is always the numerator. The answer we have is always going to be our whole number, and the number we divide by is always going to be our denominator, right? So now that we have that right there, we can write our mixed fraction out. So this is our fraction. We want to write our fraction 5 over 4 as a mixed fraction. So after dividing, we have our different parts right there.
So it's gonna be 1, the whole number, 1 over 4. So it's gonna be 1 and 1 over 4. So that's B. Alright, and now we're back to question 56, which it actually was playing on. So meet me again on the other video that got cut off. Alright, so that's whole number 5. That whole number 5 right there, I just put it over 1. So now I have the 2 fraction that I'm subtracting. Because I have 5 grams of sugar, and because I have 5 grams of sugar, and I am going to take away a half of that. So subtracting, you have to ensure you have the same denominator. So the lowest common multiplier, lowest common denominator of these two numbers is going to be 2. Right? So because if we have our 2 times, and we have our 1 times 2 times 1 is gonna be equal to 2, and we know 1 times 1 is 1, but 1 times 2 is gonna be equal to 2. So therefore, that 2 right there that's gonna be our lowest common multiple. R. Alright, so what do you multiply 1 by to get 2? That's going to be 1. Sorry, that's going to be 2. Anything you multiply at the bottom, you have to multiply it at the top. That's going to be 10 minus what you multiply 2 by now to get 2. It's going to be 1. Right here, you're going to multiply it by 1 as well. So 1 times 1, that's going to be 1. After subtracting right there, you have 9 over 2. Alright, so 9 over 2. And then you are just going to convert this right here into a mixed fraction. Alright, so that's gonna be 2 divided by 9. So 2 divided by 9, that's gonna be equal to 4. 4 times 2, that's gonna be 8. Subtract that, that's gonna be left with 1. And we know that this is the numerator. This is the whole number, and this is the denominator. Alright, so that means I'm gonna write it as 4 and 1 over 2. So that would be C. That would be C. Alright, so that will be that right here. So 4 and a half. And now we do just subtract a half from, from 5. Alright, so moving on. Question 57. So there are 12 chocolates in a box. A quarter of the chocolates have soft centers. How many have soft centers? So there are 12 chocolates in a box. A quarter of the chocolates have soft centers. So a quarter of. So of, whenever you see of, we're talking about multiplying. So a quarter is 1 over 4. So you see of, a quarter of. Whenever you see of, means that you're gonna always multiply. Alright, so yeah. So multiplying, you're gonna have it 12 times the 1. 12 times 1 is gonna be 12. So 12 over 4. So 12 divided by 4, that's gonna be equal to 3. So 3 of them have soft centers. Alright, moving on to question 58. A box of eggs contains 6 eggs. Which calculation will find how many eggs are in 30 boxes? So if one box has 6 eggs, then how many will be in 30 boxes? You'll have to multiply. So 30 multiplied by 6. So it's gonna be 8. Alright, because you have 6 boxes, so it's like you're repeating, you're adding 6. If you want to, you can add 6 30 times, but it's not shown below for the rest. So multiplying by 6 is the same thing as adding 6 30 times, because you have 30 boxes. If 1 is equal to 6, then for 30 you'd have to add 6 30 times. So 6 times 30, that's the same thing. 59. A plumber does this calculation. So 50 minus 18 equals 32. Which of the following calculations will check that the answer is correct? So to check that the answer is correct, then what he can do is to add. So D. So if he subtracts 18 from 50 and gets 32, that means that if he has 32 and adds the 18 that he subtracted, he should be able to get back that 50. He should be able to get back that 50. If not, something is wrong. So that's the answer right there. Which statement is true? And 0.5 is less than 5. That's just straightforward right there. That's 0.5. 5 is a whole number, so 5, that's the answer right there. Alright, so that's the answer right there. So that statement right there is true. Alright, so that's the answer for stage 1 city and guilds. No, these papers are done in a way where it's almost like a workshop. I go through the questions in a way to ensure that
You don't just see the answers, but you understand why you get these answers. Study for your exams and all the best. And subscribe and like the video for more content. You never know when I'll post something that you might need. Yeah.